Jacob, I know your first name, I should ask your last name.
Takache.
Takashi, because you are a alternate to this board, that's why we very rarely see you on this.
Yeah.
But you are a member for this board. Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Barone?
Here.
Mr. Frazio, Bob?
Here.
And, okay.
Kathy Vosberg
Ed
is here.
Rosberg here. I see we have Jonathan this evening with us. Good to see you. Please introduce, I don't know yourself there.
Good evening, I'm Stephanie Osborne with Giffords Webster.
Okay, and we also have Mr. Stieber from the attorney firm joining us this evening too. So we do have a couple members we normally don't have with us. Looks like we do have one item on the agenda, and that's 2024-09, that's CWP West. I believe it's the car wash. Before we invite the petitioner up to give his opinion on the reason he's in front of us, let me say some of the ground rules that this board pretty much rolls through. I will invite the petitioner up. They will state the reason they're in front of us. It will then come back to the board. Each one of us, if we do have a question, we'll ask it at that period of time. The petitioner will be able to respond back. We will then open it up to the public. And the only thing that I wish to say is the public does not be repetitious or condescending in anything, but will get to speak on it. This is a public hearing. Once I close it down from the public, I will not entertain any additional comments from the public. It'll then come back to this board here, and we'll be on a decision-making process to declare what is it, approved or denied. We haven't had one of these in quite some time. Is everybody on the board familiar with how we're handling this? I know Mr. Sievert sent us his letter. I did talk to him, but are we okay with proceeding on? Anybody? Any questions or anything? Make it clear. Okay, is there somebody representing, please? Please sign in and don't steal the pen. The way I'm understanding it this evening, we're starting from scratch. This is like the petitioner's first presenting to us. So list the board and everyone fully be aware of that.
Got it.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Benjamin Byram. I'm an attorney from Dyke-Magasset, and I'm here on behalf of Mr. Carwash. I'm here tonight with Mr. Christopher Campbell, the Director of Project Management and Engineering for Mr. Carwash. He has prepared a brief slide presentation for you to introduce the proposed development and the company in general, and I would like to reserve a few minutes afterward to address the substance of why we're here tonight and make some comments on the Planning Commission process and the appeal here tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Board. Oh, yep. Mike.
Please do.
One point of clarification, you should probably open the public hearing, since this is a statutory public hearing, so you should make a motion to open the public
Okay.
hearing, and then they can begin their
Like I said, it's a
presentation.
while since we did this.
No, you're fine.
Yes,
We'll
thank
just,
you.
we'll go slow and get it right.
Okay, we are going to need a motion to open the public hearing for this particular item.
Move to open public hearing.
Support.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Let the minute record show that we have opened the public hearing. Please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Commission or Board. My name is Chris Campbell. I am a Director of Development with Mr. Carwash. Been here the last couple of months presenting our project, and I know that you've got a lot of your materials in front of you that have a lot of information about our project, but I just wanted to go through it very high level and quickly. Jonathan, if you can hit the slide, please. So just to introduce you to a little bit about who Mr. Car Wash is, we're the largest car wash operator in the country. We have 488 locations across 21 states, with another 33 currently under construction. In Michigan, we have 30 existing stores and 20 future locations that are under various stages of development. We're a publicly traded company, and all of our stores are corporately owned and operated, so we have no franchisees. You can go to the next slide, please. One of the things that Mr. Car Wash really prides ourselves on is our environmental responsibility. So all of our stores have a reclamation system. We're able to reclaim water that's used in the wash process and reuse up to 50% of that water in each wash cycle for the vehicles. Some other things that set us apart from other competitors in this space, we actually have a R&D facility down in Tucson that formulates all of our own cleaning products. So all of the chemicals that are used, the soaps and things like that, those are all formulated by our staff and manufactured exclusively for us. We have a team that manufactures components of our wash system. So some of the comments you've seen talk about, companies that supply industry products. We do use some of those, but we also specially manufacture products specific to our needs. And then, actually, you can probably go to the next slide here. Perfect. So I think everybody's familiar with kind of where this site is. It's an existing Big Boy restaurant. And this aerial is just to kind of help level set where we're at. So when Mr. Car Wash is looking to enter new markets and make a $7 million investment like we're hoping to do here in Chesterfield, we look at a number of things. We want roadways, arterial roads that have high traffic counts. Obviously, we have that on 23 Mile and Interstate 94. We look for areas with good retail nodes. You can see that on the west side of 94 at 23 Mile and Gratiot, we have a nice solid retail node, and then we have another one on the east side of 23 Mile as well. We also look for communities that have good residential density and growth. And then finally, we're looking at competition in the market. Who's out there? What do they do? How do they operate? And do we think we can bring a better mousetrap into the marketplace? So those are all things that our team internally has analyzed as we've looked at the Chesterfield market and made the decision to, as I said, make that $7 million investment here. Next slide. So this site plan here that you see is what we ultimately brought back to the Planning Commission last month. Through a lot of work with township staff and the Planning Commission, we made a lot of modifications to this site to kind of get everybody on board and make everybody happy. I'd like to just walk you through it real quickly. So this is oriented with north on the left-hand side. So we are proposing to reduce the number of driveways that currently exist from 2 down to 1 driveway with a median. Vehicles or customers would enter at that driveway. They would continue straight to our pay station. Mr. Car Wash offers a program called the Unlimited Wash Club. Over 70% of our customers are Unlimited Wash Club members. And basically what this is it's a subscription program. So you pay a flat monthly fee, you get an RFID sticker on your vehicle. You can come through the wash as often as you want. Every day, multiple times a day, it doesn't matter. It also allows you to use any Mr. Car Wash in the country. As I said, we're growing out the network of stores here in Detroit with 20 currently under development. So in a few short years, there will be a lot of opportunities within this region to utilize that Unlimited Wash Club. So once a member pulls up to, or a customer pulls up to that POS canopy there where you see the cars kind of stacking up, if they're an Unlimited Wash Club member, that gate will automatically raise. The vehicle will proceed through, around to the tunnel, where a customer service attendant will guide them onto the conveyor. The conveyor will take them through the tunnel, and then when they exit, they can either exit back onto 23 Mile, or they can turn back into the site and use one of the 19 vacuums, self-service vacuums that are provided. We have a couple of bailout lanes that are provided. Those were at the request of some Planning Commission members. We have a loading area on the Plan East side, and just kind of, again, worked with staff and the Planning Commission to really modify this site plan. If you go to the next slide, please. These are just some elevations of what we're proposing. We've upgraded the materials here. Typically, we would use a split-faced concrete masonry unit on a lot of this. We've upgraded that to brick and stone. And then you can go to the next slide. And again, just the tunnel elevation and the exit. So how did we get here? Back in September, we submitted our preliminary application to staff. Submitted our formal application back in December, and between December and March, when we had our first planning commission hearing, that's when we did the back and forth dance with the staff, addressing comments, making internal changes to the plans, things like that. We had our public hearing. As Planning Commission does, they delayed the vote till the next meeting. So when we came back on April 2nd, we had that hearing again. Again, presented the changes that we had made based on the feedback that we received back in March, and then ultimately received the denial vote. And at this point, I will let Ben step in and talk a little bit more about that particular component.
Thank you. As you can tell from the slides that Chris has prepared, Mr. Car Wash is a first-class operation. They have a tried-and-true business model. They've done it. They've replicated it all over the country. They know what they're doing, and they particularly have a very specific and successful method of choosing locations. The reason we're here, obviously, is because the Planning Commission denied the special land use application. Particularly, the only factual finding in support of the denial was that the application failed to satisfy Section 62B6, which states, "The proposed use is necessary for the public convenience at the proposed location." Now, I've watched the meeting, I've seen the video, I've read the minutes. I'm very familiar with everything that happened at the Planning Commission meeting. The application should have been approved. All the other factors were satisfied. Everything has been done properly. Mr. Car Wash, Chris here, has repeatedly revised the site plans to satisfy members of the Planning Commission to bring this project in line with what the community here wants, and they've done that. He was in fact commended at the Planning Commission for being so agreeable to work with the township. So much of the conversation and the public comments and also some letters that have been sent in opposition to Mr. Car Wash coming here, they focus on things that are just, not relevant. And that's just the truth. They focus on things such as economic factors. There were comments about how much money Mr. C's, which is approximately 600 feet away, has invested. The fact that they've been here longer, they're local. And the Planning Commission, in discussing these things, among other things, went back and forth. But again, much of the comments and questions centered on economic factors. At one point, one of the commissioners, Mr. Klinowski, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, asked the township attorney if they were even able to consider such factors, such economic factors. The township attorney correctly then instructed them that no, you cannot. Those are not things to be considered. This is a land use matter, period. No economic factors come into play. The Planning Commission has no authority to pick winners and losers or protect existing businesses. No matter how many letters or emails it receives, no matter how many comments from the neighboring business are spoken at these meetings, it does not matter. Michigan case law is unequivocally clear on this point. I won't bore you with legal citations, but the application before you tonight discloses all of those, and they've been submitted to Mr. Seibert, and I suspect you all have it. So we're here because the special land use application, it met the criteria. And in Michigan law, if the application satisfies it, there's no discretion. Planning Commission must approve. There's no room for discretion whatsoever. As much as the community is against it or people don't like it, it doesn't matter. It's a strictly land use matter. You do not get to decide property owners, prospective property owners' rights based on other factors that are just simply irrelevant. And I say that respectfully because I understand that there are members of Mr. C's Car Wash here tonight and potentially other members of the community that may be opposed to the development. I understand that. But again, respectfully, those things are irrelevant when determining a land use matter. Now, as it relates to this specific item, 62B6, upon information and belief, the Planning Commission has never denied a business based on this factor. And as we know, municipalities, planning commissions cannot treat similarly situated businesses and owners, prospective owners, differently. Notably, in September of 2023, Chick-fil-A, a national chain, great restaurant, satisfied Section 62B6 by stating in its application, I quote, "The drive-through is necessary for the public convenience of a fast food drive-through." Mr. Car Wash's special land use application was far more robust, far more explanatory, and actually explained its business. As depicted in the slides, there was one in particular of note. Thank you. It may be difficult to see, but I'll explain it. So you'll see that in there, there's a map of a Chick-fil-A towards the center there. And what this slide depicts is a Chick-fil-A, which is a fast food drive-through restaurant. And then it shows 14 other fast food drive-through facilities within approximately 0.7 miles of that location. That's 14 restaurants, all offering similar menu items, except for one, the Dunkin' Donuts. Collectively, there are 25 fast food drive-through restaurants in Chesterfield Township. The main opposition to this car wash is the argument that it's oversaturated with car washes, and that is simply not true. There are nearly 3 times as many fast food drive-through restaurants, and in this particular area here, which is roughly the size of the proposed area of Mr. Car Wash, it is far more densely populated with fast food drive-throughs. These are all also, to note, on the exact same side of the street, all within approximately 0.7 miles of one another. To say or to approve a special land use application that proposes a location with 13 other similar fast food drive-through restaurants on the same side of the street, and then to thereafter deny a special land use application because it doesn't satisfy Section 62B6 is inconsistent. It is improper. There is absolutely no basis to do it. Had you denied Chick-fil-A, I would understand where you're coming from. That didn't happen. It was approved. So has every other business that has applied for it and that has been approved with that same section criteria. There was no factual or legal basis to deny the special land use application. I have some other comments that I'd like to address, and some of it speaks to just the letters. We've seen the letters that have come in from the community, and as I said, I understand all the letters and the opposition that may be there. I mean that respectfully. And again, as respectfully as I can say it, most of them are entirely irrelevant. It's anti-competitive. It is a way to limit a business coming in approximately 600 feet away. If you look at, is there another slide? Can we show? If you look at this map here, you'll see right in the middle, it says Mr., which is the proposed car wash site. If you just compare this slide to the previous slide, you will see how this is not actually oversaturated whatsoever, and it is far more sparsely spread out within the community than these fast food restaurants. And also to note, the previous slide of the fast food restaurants only shows the fast food restaurants within that particular area. As I said, there are 11 other ones within the community. So there is no comparison. If a Chick-fil-A satisfies the criteria of being necessary for the public convenience, there is no scenario where you can look at this map and look at the facts in the application that was submitted and say that Mr. Car Wash does not satisfy this criteria. It is indisputable. Michigan case law is extremely clear. There is no protection for a pre-existing business. There is no protection for competition. There is no controversy that enables an existing business to bring a claim because they want to prevent competition. I understand all of that, I really do. But this country, go anywhere, any community, is filled with streets, districts, towns that have fast food restaurant after fast food restaurant, gas stations on each corner. That's what this country is. It's competition. And Mr. Curris is sitting here to my left. He has owned the Big Boy for 42 years. When he opened that business, there were 6 restaurants in this community. There are now 75 within 2 miles of his restaurant. Not once did he ever attend a meeting or submit a letter opposing a restaurant or a fast food business or anything that would potentially compete with him. What he did instead is he's invested over $5 million into this community, into his business, and he has employed more than 4,000 local residents to work at his restaurant over the years. That's what you do when competition comes in. You invest and you survive or you fail. That's part of it. There is no guarantee just because you've been there 2 years before a new business. There's no protection afforded to you. I want to close with a few more comments. Mr. Car Wash, as I said, they have almost 500 locations across the country. Maybe that bothers some people because Mr. C's is going to portray that they're local, but again, entirely irrelevant. There is no deference or preference for a local as opposed to somebody else. It is strictly a land use matter. Mr. Car Wash is prepared to invest millions of dollars into this site, and they are very familiar with the fact that maybe it doesn't work out. Nobody knows. There is no guarantee. Opening a business guarantees you nothing except the fact that you have a shot at it. That's what Mr. Car Wash is here for. They realize, and maybe it happens, who knows? Maybe Mr. C's steps up and puts them out of business. They're accepting that. They're not concerned about that. It's the risk you take. And then lastly, we're here obviously for this appeal. And what I'm requesting tonight is that the board reverse the decision of the majority of the Planning Commission and approve the special land use as provided by the minority resolution. The factors to be considered are whether there was competent, material, and substantial evidence on the record, whether the decision represented an abuse of discretion, and whether it otherwise violated applicable law. It absolutely represents an abuse of discretion. The Planning Commission discussed and considered factors that are simply inapplicable. They do not apply, nor can they serve as any criteria to be considered when approving or denying. Competent, material, and substantial evidence on the record. The only actual evidence on the record that was relevant was the application, which satisfied all criteria. And did the decision otherwise violate applicable law? You cannot pick winners and losers or protect existing businesses, and that's exactly what happened. So I appreciate everybody's time here tonight, and I respectfully request that the decision is reversed and that Mr. Car Wash is granted the special land use. Thank you.
Not at this time.
Not at this time.
None for me. Nice job, fellas. Did a very thorough
Thank you.
explanation. Thank you.
Not at this time.
I do have a question. Where, you guys said you guys are gonna be opening up more Mr. Car Washes here in Michigan. Where will be the next closest Mr. Car Wash?
So in this, I have stores working in various approval processes in Monroe Township, in Shelby Township, in not New Baltimore, that's what we call this one. Yeah, they're primarily kind of in Macomb County area, so.
Okay, thank you.
And when I say in development, that could be we're in the process of getting our entitlements, that could be we're under construction, we have, it could be we're negotiating a site with a landowner right now. So it's kind of a wide berth there.
Thank you.
Yep.
During Mr. Car Wash's
research process in seeking out a new location. Did you find that there were other properties in Chesterfield Township where you could build this car wash that did not require the special land use?
It's my understanding that a car wash requires a special land use anywhere within Chesterfield County, or Chesterfield Township.
Okay, thank you, that was my question.
Any way to get that site plan back up there?
Yep.
Thank you. Originally, when I seen it coming to us, I was a little concerned. And I know other car washes that came before, planning and also ZBA. I was looking at the way you come out of the car wash and you have some dry-off area before you actually hit 23 Mile. That's what I was concerned about. I remember when, I think it's Whitewater came in, if you notice there's a dip there. So I think the petitioner has went the extra mile and took care of that question. The other one too is now are those 3 lanes going in?
Correct.
So that would reduce traffic off of 23.
Correct, yeah, it's always our intention not to back up onto city streets.
I know, because we have, we have a Starbucks that backs up there and,
We've heard a lot
question about that design, and I compliment you there. Also, I see there was some discussion regarding the vacuums. I think they were placed to a different place.
Yeah, so in the original site plan, the vacuums were, and what you see, they were on Plan South, so the bottom there. We, through some of the comments that we heard at the first Planning Commission hearing, we shifted those to the center of the site. That allowed us to get the vacuum producers closer to the building and a little bit further away from the residents that are on the south side, true south side of the site.
Yeah. Because basically when, you go out and you take a look at a site, and how's all this going to fit? And complement the site plan, and you have took the extra effort to put into place for it, and it is a business. Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to step aside, and we will, Mr. Seaver, please.
Yeah, I just, one point of clarification. Anytime there's a special land use application, there are 2 components to it. Component 1 is whether or not the applicant satisfies the criteria in the zoning ordinance for the special land use, i.e. the car wash. The second component is whether or not, if the special land use is granted, whether the site plan that is proposed meets the ordinance. The Planning Commission never got to the approval of the site plan because it denied the special land use because 5 of the members found that it did not satisfy the criteria. So the site plan issue is not before you. What is before you is whether or not the applicant satisfied the criteria for special land use. Okay?
Fully understand that, but I was trying to
No,
get
no, I'm not.
a feeling of how the site actually.
No, it's a
will come
fairly
together.
legitimate question, but I wanted the board to understand that the focus of your inquiry and final decision tonight is whether or not the applicant has met the standards for special land use. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Seaver.
Mr. Chair, if I may follow up to Mr. Siebert's comment. So then, if they are approved to go in that site, then it has to go back to the zoning, or the planning
Yes,
commission?
if this board, by a vote of 4 members, reverses the decision of the planning commission and approves the special land use, that issue will have been finally decided. They will then have to go back and get final site plan approval from the commission.
Thank you.
This is Mike. I'm going to open it to the public. Anyone that wishes to speak on it, please come up, state your name. Please try not to be repetitious. I'm not going to time, but be conscious on that factor, please. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Vito Catalfio III, co-owner of Mr. C's Car Wash. Thank you for your time and for listening to all of us. For Mr.'s approval, 8 standards must be met. The Planning Commission concluded Standard 6 was not met because the proposed use is not necessary for the public convenience at the proposed location. There are 7 other car washes within 2 miles, including us next door, that all do the exact same thing. And we all have the unlimited plan as well. We have all those In response to standard number 6, Mr. says they think that based off of information and belief, the township has never denied a special land use for a car wash for this reason. Well, it could be that they never had to before, but if the speed limit is 70 miles per hour and no one has ever been ticketed for going 85, does that mean they are no longer allowed to ticket anyone going 85 and the speed limit becomes 85 miles per hour? Mr. points at all the restaurants and fast food places within a stone's throw of each other. Those are different because they serve all different types of food, and food is a necessity. And if you feel like chicken one day, you'll get chicken. If you feel like a burger, you're going to go to a burger place. But if you want to get a car wash, you're much more likely to pull into the closest car wash to you because we all do the exact same thing, which is clean cars. And Mr. and Mr. C's, 600 feet away from each other, are both express model car washes. Mr. states in their proposal letter that car washes aren't a destination unto themselves and are typically used when a customer is passing by. Therefore, it is not necessary to have 2 express model car washes on the same road, 600 feet from each other. Mr. cites traffic counts as a need for their development, but they ignore that there are already 3 car washes on the same stretch of 23-mile road, all sharing the same traffic counts. Furthermore, not a single member of the community of Chesterfield has expressed a need for car washes in the area. Instead, we saw the opposite. Several members of the community have come to speak out against the proposed Mr. Car Wash because the car wash market is already saturated here. Mr. states the Planning Commission rejected their development without reason, rationale, or factual support. Not true. The Planning Commission had a map of all current car washes in the area and industry data on population needs to support a car wash prior to their decision. Several residents wrote, sent emails, and spoke against the need for a new car wash, all prior. The decision was based on factual data and community input. In their response, Mr. calls criteria number 6 vague and subjective. We believe Mr. needs to call it vague and subjective because it does not allow for their entry into that space. Mr., we believe, needs to value the authenticity of Standard 6 in order to create a workaround where it is made okay for us to ignore it. There was no picking winners and losers. Mr. failed to prove the need for the public convenience at the specific location, and the Planning Commission rightfully denied them because they failed to prove the need. Thank you.
Thank you for coming up. Anyone else, please step up, sign in, and state your facts. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Connie Catalfio, co-owner of Mr. C's Car Wash at 29600 23 Mile Road. Mr. Car Wash does not meet all 8 of the standards that must be met to secure a special land use. The Planning Commission denied the special land use because it did not meet standard number 6 of the standards. Number 6 states, the proposed use is necessary for the public convenience at the proposed location. There are 5 car washes operating at present in a 2-mile radius. Most residents are not aware that Cleanview has another car wash opening in the 2-mile radius. Also, Tidal Wave, the 5th largest car wash location, with over 200 washes, has been approved and is starting construction in the 2-mile radius area. If Mr. Car Wash is approved, that will be 3 new washes in the area in a year, or a 66% increase in car wash facilities. All of these 8 washes do the same thing. As for state-of-the-art, Mr. C's Car Wash uses Sunny's car wash equipment, just like Mr. does. We have the same wraps, mitters, and rocker panel units that Mr. does. Mr. mentions they can adjust the speed of the conveyor to help control car flow. Every conveyor has that capability. Mr. C's and Mr. Car Wash use the same Sunny's conveyors. The faster the conveyor is, the less cleaning the machinery and soaps can do. Additionally, their superior wash with titanium 360 is no more than our Carnauba wax, called Tsunami Wax, and our Vantagloss protectant sealer application. As for convenience, the other 6 washes are very convenient, and Mr. C's is so convenient there is not even a street between us. Mr. and Mr. C's are on the same block. Mr. Car Wash states that CVS and Rite Aid are built right across the street from each other. Well, Rite Aid is in bankruptcy, and CVS is closing 900 stores. CVS's reason for closing 900 stores is they want to decrease the density of their locations. As for restaurants, Subway is closing 500 stores, and 33% of the Subways are losing money. Burger King is closing 400 stores. It seems building on top of each other is not working out. The Planning Commission was correct in their denial because Mr. will provide no additional convenience to the residents, and it is Mr.'s burden to prove otherwise. Like one of the Planning Commission members said, it is like Chick-fil-A building next to Chick-fil-A. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for coming out. Thank you.
If I could, I'd like to pass out some maps to everybody.
Can you just give them to me and I'll pass them out?
I'm Vito Cotelfield Jr., owner of Mr. C's Car Wash at 29600 23 Mile Road. Yes, Mr. Car Wash has spent time and money on the project. It was their responsibility to make sure they passed all 8 standards before deciding to spend time and money on this project. I have also spent thousands of dollars in bringing to light that Mr. Car Wash is not necessary for the public convenience at the proposed location. Mr. C's Car Wash is 12 seconds away from Mr. Car Wash. According to MapQuest, one Whitewater on 23 is 2 minutes away, another Whitewater on 23 is 3 minutes away. Whitewater on Gratiot is 4 minutes away, Clearview on Gratiot is 3 minutes away. The approved tidal wave on Gratiot will be 4 minutes away, and another Clearview on Gratiot is 4 minutes away. The public can, in 12 seconds to 4 minutes, reach 7 other car washes. Mr. Car Wash is not necessary convenience to the public at this location. Mr. Car Wash's appeal lawyer says the Big Boy is an unviable restaurant. The owner of the restaurant said he just wanted to retire. Also, counsel for Mr. Car Wash states that the Big Boy is a vacant building. As of 5/22/24, Big Boy is still open. I went to the Car Wash Convention May 13th and 14th. I attended the seminar, Industry Leaders Discuss Key to Success. Mr. Dubinsky of Mammoth Holding, 10th largest car wash owner in the country, was a speaker. His #1 issue on the projector screen was car wash industry overbuilding. He said there is room for expansion and that we must seek out underserved areas, that building car washes on top of each other was not sustainable. There are 17 car washes in Grand Rapids, like the planning board members said in the April 2nd meeting. The breakdown of these 17 washes is, please see your maps. One 2-mile area has 5 washes, another 2-mile area has 4 washes, a 2.5-mile area has 3 washes, and a 3-mile area has 5, total 17. Chesterfield will have 8 in 2 miles area, 63% more than any 2 miles in Grand Rapids. Today's Wall Street Journal, drugstore chains start to downside. Reason, low demand. It is not low demand, it's oversupply. This year, the supply of car washes in a 2-mile radius will increase 40%. If Mr. is approved, it will increase the supply by 66% in 1 year. This is not sustainable or necessary for the public convenience. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming
Wall
out.
Street Journal.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
My name is Frank Tome. I own Cleanview Auto Wash. Some of you may know me. I've been in the community for several years. So we came in the community in 2010, and Michael Rozelle started Cleanview in 1980. And it was a truly rundown business where, you know, everything was breaking down, the building was outdated, and we spent millions of dollars getting that place where it needs to be. You know, currently have several thousand members, multiple locations in the community, and, you know, everything Mr. does, we do as good or even better. And most of the commission here have probably memberships with us or Mr. C's since they took over. So as Bill was saying, you know, the saturation and splitting the pot doesn't service anyone, you know, and yeah, the density is there, but the community is definitely being served. And, you know, I have 13 vacuums at my south of 23 location, which is 50501 Gratiot, along with a self-serve and an express tunnel that's 130 feet long, which is it's almost identical to what they're doing here. And, you know, our second location that we took over was the Earls south of us. You know, we closed it down for several years, but we're going to be opening that one in the next 45 days. We're very close to wrapping up. So to get the point across, you know, we're small family businesses that are serving the community, and we have these giant private equity, public guys coming in and just want to split the pot. And for them, it's okay. But for us, this is our life. We put everything into these places, our sweat and tears, and you know, we're there every single day. But they may have a guy, you know, person out of their corporate office, just, you know, just another number to them at the end of the day. And if it loses, guess what? They'll write it off on the next one. So, you know, I asked the commission to take consideration for the need of the community, you know, rather than just thinking of dollars. So, thank you.
Thank you for coming out.
Good evening, Bob Kirk, 19500 Hall Road, Clinton Township. I'm a land use municipal attorney working with Mr. Catalfio. We've gotten way off track here with the site plan, with the building materials, the fast food. This just comes down to the special land use.
Correct.
Special land use are created by your township, not by the state law, not by Mr. Catalfio. I'll give you an example. The Michigan Municipal League defines special land use as something that's generally compatible with the purpose and intent of the district, but due to their individual unique characteristics, potential impact, warrant more in-depth analysis prior to approval. I'll give you an example. In the B3 zone, let's say you have a bakery. That's a permitted use. In your C3. In your C3, auto repair, service, noise, that's special land use. You need to take a step back and look at that. Likewise, like an adult bookstore would be similar. In your manufacturing district, you can have machine shops, but when you get into junkyards and storage of flammable materials, that's special land use. So that's what your township created, your planners, your attorneys, these special land uses, and set forth the standards that must be met. And your ordinance says specifically that every one of the standards must be met. I submit to you that they missed on 5 of them, and I'll go through those with you. The first one I'll say is it's not in harm with the appropriate development of the area. We have a car wash 600 feet away. There could be problems on those sunny days after the slushy days. That was never addressed in their application or any submissions. Number 2, about vehicular traffic being no more hazardous. Again, I saw no studies, no evidence ever shown that this wouldn't cause traffic. In fact, your planning commission members, some of those talked about making left turns out of there would be a problem on 23. And this is on the same side of the street. So they don't have the argument to say, well, if you're coming west, you don't have to make that left turn. Same side of the street. The important ones are number 5 and 6. There's a need for particular services in the area. Again, never addressed why it was needed, why it needed to be 600 feet from the other store. Number 6 is with regard to the public convenience of the location, and if I may pass these out. Yeah. Those were included in my submission to the commission, or the board. With regard to number 5 and 6, the need for the public and the convenience, what they say in their application is that they're the only national car operator offering a superior wash with titanium 360 and access to a growing network. That's it. They don't talk about why there's more need, why they need to be there for more customers, that the people in the area are not being serviced. We had submitted information in our last submission that Car Wash Magazine said you need 1 car wash for every 20 to 25,000 people. Chesterfield's whole township is 45,000 people with those 7 locations. Carwash.com was 1 per 20,000 within 3 miles. So it's clear they haven't ever submitted any information, any proofs to seal it, they've met the burden with regard to number 5 and 6. Number 8 says that the use can't cause substantial injury to value of property in the vicinity, not detrimental to existing uses in the zoning district. It'd be clear there'd be a problem, there'd be a detriment to Mr. Catalfio. So the attorney properly pointed out there has to be competent material evidence on the record. There was none. There was none besides them saying how great they are. And on these factors, again, the Planning Commission, I believe there was 3 or 4 that they really had concern with, traffic, number 5 and number 6, although in the motion only 1 was made. They must find affirmatively as to each one of those, and they didn't find on at least 5 of those. So we're asking that you affirm the denial and actually find that numbers 1, 5, 6, and 8 were not met. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Janice Young. In the spirit of not repeating everything, because everybody's covered everything really well, I'd like to point out just a couple of things. The attorney from Dykema was very gracious in pointing out the poor planning in our community by having it overly saturated with fast food businesses, and that's been a joke in our community. He said that not all the comments, where he said they were not all economic, but that's right in the special land use. That says right in there, not cause physical or economic aspects adjacent to other property. I mean, there's language in there that talks about the economics of the adjacent land. So I also agree that items 5, 6, and 8, they do not meet them. And the Planning Commission was actually wrong in only denying it based on item number 6. So obviously I'm here to oppose this. So like I said, Chesterfield has 5 car washes. Within 2 miles, 2 more coming. That right there proves that the market is saturated and there is no reason to approve their application. I recognize that Mr. C states that they offer a unique service, but the reality is it's just another express car wash. They clean dirt off of the cars. There's nothing unique about their service despite what they say. And I think it's funny that Ms. Hickey seems to be unfamiliar with the special land use, but she sits on the zoning board and we're making a vote on this tonight. I, as a resident, know that anything with the drive-through requires a special land use in this township, but she asked the applicant why they wouldn't go somewhere else in the township that didn't require that. So maybe she should not be voting on that tonight. And as far as
please do not do any jabs. I have the mic on. Please do not do any jabs. Thank you.
I'm just stating the fact that she's voting and she doesn't have
please stick to the
doesn't know the
issues. Thank
rules.
you.
That
Please
is an
stick
issue.
to the issues.
That is an issue.
Thank you.
As far as the traffic pulling out onto 23 Mile Road, I don't know if it was here or at a planning commission meeting, but somebody referred to pulling into the left-hand turn lane as queuing. I don't know if that's legal or even safe to do. I just witnessed it twice, at 7 o'clock in the morning yesterday and at 4:30 this afternoon pulling left out there. I had to pull in the left-hand turn lane to merge onto traffic to get out. I watched a dump truck pull out 7 o'clock in the morning. He had to pull in the left-hand turn lane. He made a right-hand turn into Speedway from the left-hand turn lane. So that was at 7 in the morning. So there really is no need for this car wash there. I don't think it fits in that space because of those items. And I respectfully request that you deny this.
Thank you. One comment about the board. Don't forget, we are pretty much volunteers on this basis. We're a direct representation of the community. And that is the reason that we have the attorney, the planner, and the professional planner sitting there to discuss questions that we may have. We don't deal with every issue every time. As for singling somebody out on their questions, that I don't think that is where we want to go with this. Please state your name and continue.
John Speaker, Chesterfield Township. Just a couple comments. The question is, why are we here tonight? We're here tonight because the petitioner's request on the Planning Commission's denial for a reversal. Bottom line is, and I know that you've all listened attentively, this doesn't meet the special land use criteria. The Planning Commission got it right. You have to deny it because it doesn't meet the criteria. Even Mr. Seberg says that if it doesn't meet all the criteria, you must deny it. And just in response to what the chairman said, You know, I don't think if a resident is giving his or her opinion that it's a jab at anybody. So it's, you know, a resident's opinion to let you know what he or she felt, so.
And we're residents too, sir, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Not a microphone expert, so pardon with me. Try not to be repetitive or waste any of your time, but my name is Alex Schickman. I am a local resident. I live not very far from the proposed location, so I'd like to think I'm one of the people that's going to be directly affected by this. And just an observation. So apologize if this sounds like a Johnny Cash song, but we have a Shea Mega East next to a Victory Motors, Big Boy located next to a Taco Bell, Comerica Bank right across from a Huntington, a Red Zone opening directly in front of Champion Fitness, McDonald's right next to Dunkin' Donuts, White Castle across the street from Applebee's with both Chipotle and Burger King right next door as well, Augustus Coney Island right next to Dimitri's, flanked by Wendy's, Jersey Mike's right next to a Noodles and Company and a Qdoba. We have a Dirty Dough right across the street from Crumble. I can go on and on. For some reason, we found a way to allow competitive, similar businesses to compete and let the residents decide on who they prefer to spend their money with. You know, we have other businesses not mentioned, mechanic shops, gas stations, storage facilities. They're not right on top of each other, they're close by to each other. In the spirit of competition, they've all somehow managed to get along. Sierra Drive, right behind one of the Chesterfield owned buildings, we've got a brand new facility built there. We have a new construction company built there. We have lots of competing businesses within our township. There's things that happen here. Maybe they're not to the best interest of those who always own the business, but they are in the spirit of competition. This is a new business. They're going to be paying taxes. They'll be creating jobs. They're going to contribute to our community. Why should we punish them for being 7th, 8th, 9th, whatever order it happened to come in? Mr. C's, I've watched and listened to this debate as a resident. It's troubling that they've said that they will sell their business if this is approved. My question to everyone is, does that sound like a company that's committed to the long term in our community? It's incredibly disingenuous to position this as a dispute of necessity for the public convenience. How can we define what exactly is necessary? I'm a customer of both of the other car washes mentioned here. I've left one for another because they were too busy. There's a lot of us, we don't always like to get involved in things like this, but this is getting ridiculous. How exactly can we predict whether Mr. C's, whether Cleanview, whether any of these other businesses will continue to meet the needs of our community? We can't predict the future or how any other car wash does here. What happens the next time that the zoning and planning decision is not on the side of Mr. C's car wash? They'll likely leave. They've already said that. We have the old Checkers sitting vacant. We've got the very friendly Mount Cabela's, where the only thing happening with that land right now is it floods every time it rains. We're not in a community where businesses are routinely storming down the doors to come in here and develop something new. Do we really need the township to present us as a community that's more difficult to do business with? We're growing, there's people moving here, there's development happening. I think that we should be open and considerate to any company that's willing to invest money in our community. Thank you.
Thank you for coming up. Anybody else? Please step forward, state your name, sign in, and state the comment that you wish to make.
Christopher Pierrick, Chesterfield Township. So I don't think there's been much talk about a traffic study have been done for this. I think one of the comments I heard was MDOT said they were okay with the way the driveways were. I didn't see anything about a traffic study, but there definitely will be some problems with cars leaving that facility. They have room on their property to have about 25, 30 cars staged to go in the car wash. That means at one time. So that means they can expect that many, or it's possible for that many wanting to exit that. 50% of those will probably want to go west, and they'll all have to queue in that left lane, which is an illegal maneuver in order to get merge right to get towards 94. So if there's an exemption for making illegal maneuvers when you leave a car wash, then so be it. But I don't know how that could be justified. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? Please come forward. Anybody else? Let the minutes show that the chair has closed the public portion of the meeting, and I will not entertain anything additional from the public. We're still in public hearing, correct?
Yeah, but once you close the public hearing, then you'll deliberate, so you can you can make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, we're moving, okay. Need a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have support?
Support.
All in favor, say by saying aye.
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 Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I just address one point that came up, and I want to make sure, because this may not be the end of this issue, and I want to make sure that this record is perfectly clear. Both attorneys made comments about what the standard of this body's review is, and I respect both attorneys. They're outstanding lawyers, but I think they got the standard wrong. They both indicated that this body is to determine whether or not the Planning Commission's decision was based upon a test that is called competent material and substantial evidence on the record, and whether or not the Planning Commission's decision was an abuse of discretion. That is the test that a circuit court applies when reviewing a final decision of this body, or in some cases where a Planning Commission is the final decision maker and the decision goes to circuit court. The circuit court judge will look at the record and determine whether that final decision maker's decision was based on competent material and substantial evidence on the record, whether the procedure was proper, and whether there was an abuse of discretion. Don't worry about any of that, because that is not the test that's before you. The statute and the case law makes it clear that your review is de novo, which is a Latin term, but in common parlance, it means anew, fresh. It means this body is here tonight for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to decide whether or not the applicant has satisfied all of the 8 standards for special land use. If you conclude that they have, you reverse the Planning Commission and make a motion to grant the special land use. If you conclude that they have not satisfied all 8, then it is incumbent upon you to make a motion to affirm the Planning Commission and deny the special land use. That's it. But you are looking at this fresh. You do not give any deference to what the Planning Commission did. Now, you do have a record before you. You've been provided with minutes. You've been provided with other documents that have been submitted. You have applications, submittals from the applicant for the special land use. You have letters from counsel from Dykema and from Mr. Kirk. You have a complete record. You can certainly consider all that, but you are not to give any deference to what the commission did. You're not there to decide whether the commission got it right or wrong. The decision is now in your lap to decide on your own whether you think they've satisfied the criteria. So, having said that, now is the time for you to deliberate and make a decision.
Go ahead.
So as I look at the criteria and the 8 different criteria that are before us, and obviously number 6 was the issue previously, and it is a criteria, but I'm not sure what the standard is for how I define necessary and public convenience. I mean, there's the colloquial use of public, in a sense, public convenience, mean handy, or it might mean, ease of access. But in most situations, the regular meaning simply means suitable or fitting, sort of like the way that a utility applies to the Public Services Commission, where it refers to something that is fitting or suited to the public need. It's not an absolute standard. And necessity is not absolute either. It's an adjective of degree. And it can be applied based on what is necessary to the object of the sentence itself, in this case, public convenience. So I've struggled with how exactly that criteria, what standard you would apply, but it's clear from the other 7 that when you talk about what's harmonious and what's not harmonious with the surrounding properties, it's not what's harmonious for the economic viability of the businesses around that property. It is what's harmonious for the property itself in relationship to those other properties, right? So when you look at number 2, for example, says, shall be of a nature that will make vehicular and pedestrian traffic no more hazardous than is normal in the district. So it's no more hazardous than what's there right now, right? And what you have there right now are people turning left out of those businesses, right?
Which includes
Right.
car wash, Taco Bell.
Right.
Meldrum's, yes.
Right. So those are just my comments.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
that's- Yeah.
Anybody? You go ahead. Go ahead, Bob.
Are you going like each individual and give our opinion? or-
No,
Okay,
I'm just
all right.
saying, if you wish to add, I don't
Well,
want to put you on the
that's,
spot.
no, that's,
Yes.
one of my problems is as being law enforcement for 26 years working, I was concerned about the traffic issues and too, and it is illegal to turn left and drive down the center lane and get in. One of my most vivid accidents I remember is in front of Big Boys. Motorcycle going eastbound on 23, car turned out of Big Boys, motorcycle accident, didn't do well for the bike. So no matter what business you're gonna put there, you're gonna have those left turn, right turn problems in the community. And I think the gentleman put it the best about competition. He failed to mention that a gas station is going in at 23 and Sass, and we got B&B Party Store that's within 400 feet of each other. I didn't see a lot of people complaining about that. That's gonna maybe put B&B Liquor out, and the gas station's gonna do fine. It was very well done, and I appreciate that part of it, because I do think competition's good for the community. And I just want to say that I appreciate that comments there on those businesses, champions. You have the infrared room going there, and also you got Bayside Fitness and Spa. There are 3 gyms within a quarter mile of each other. So competition is a big part of the thing, and I appreciate that. And Clearview Auto Wash, known for years, I worked there, very good job there. Mr. C's, I got a family member that works there. It's really tough, but it was all put together well. Thank you.
Mic's on. Since we have some from the professional planner, did you wish to add anything at this time?
Nothing in particular. I'm happy to answer questions, although I'll just note that Mr. Siebert would probably be the best at, or the best one to elaborate if you had questions about any of the specific standards.
Okay, Thank you so much. Jonathan, would you wish to add anything, sir?
I don't have anything to add at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Sievert, I guess everyone wants you to add something, no?
Well, I've laid out what the standard is. The standard is you decide whether they have met those 8 criteria. If they have, they're entitled to a special land use approval. If they haven't, you have to articulate why and where they've failed so that this record is clear, so that if this record goes to circuit court, the judge can look at the minutes and say it was denied because specifically. And if it, and same thing with the approval. If you're going to make a motion to approve it, articulate why and reflect the 8 standards.
Okay, thank you. Does all the board members have enough of information to move forward with the decision at this time? Okay, anything else, any more clarification? Then I'll call for the motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve special land use on the basis of meeting all 8 standards of the ordinance for petition number 2024-09.
I'll support that.
So we're motion to approve the special land use.
Correct.
At all 8 standards.
Correct.
Okay. And I do have support on that. Okay. Any problem in the crafting of the motion, Mr. Sievert?
No, as long as the maker of the motion is clear that in his opinion, they have satisfied all 8 of the criteria under the special land use.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for the input. Continue support? Absolutely. Anybody wish any comments or concerns on this? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? It has passed. All 8 standards have been satisfied. Old business. Jonathan, I'm glad you're here this evening with us. Got a good question for you. I know we touched base earlier on the idea of setting up different bylaws for the board. And I know you were going to reach out to supervisor and see where we're going to go. Any comments on that at this time?
Just so the rest of the board is aware, we did have a discussion of creating, bylaws that are consistent across all the boards and commissions, obviously with some differences for, specific bodies. I don't have an update on that at this time, but it is something that's going to be coming in the near future. We did just do an update with the planning commission bylaws, but yeah, there was an additional discussion, especially after the ZBA's last meeting, about providing an updated and consistent set of bylaws.
Sorry. In our current bylaws, if I remember correctly, we have a time period when we're obligated to elect new officers. Am I correct in that?
I believe that's correct, but I would need to verify.
I don't. It's been a while, I think, so.
I believe it's a 2-year term, and it's repeated by the township supervisor as approval, I believe.
No, I
And
believe
then it goes
it-
in front of the board?
Well, the appointments are staggered, but for the members, but for the officers.
Officers, yes.
It's an appointment elected by the ZBA once per year. And I
Once a
believe
year,
it specifies what month that is. And we usually put it on the agenda for you.
Okay.
I believe it's September, but I'd have to verify.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to. And then another thing, I know there's been some discussion here. Mr. Sievert, if you wish to leave, you're more than in. Leave us like this dry? You find this fascinating. We're trying to do something. Where was that? Now what's my train of thought? Okay, here we go. We had a discussion, and I know we have a procedure where we bring it back and everyone asks us a question. I don't know if we want to continue with that. I don't know if that's anything that's required. I hate putting people on the spot. I don't know if we want a discussion about this at this time, or we wait to have our bylaws update it, so, anybody?
Yeah, just being a new member.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where exactly you come in and go out, or, you know, when we want to comment from us, and,
Yeah.
you know, what we say is, you know, I understand it gets kind of touchy, like, this could end up in circuit court with this
Right, yeah.
case. You know, that stuff, I wish that we'd have some way, you know, this was an important decision. I wish we could have recessed for 5 minutes, got ourselves together, and gone back and reviewed everything we had to go through, because like, I'm like taking trigonometry right now.
Right, okay.
You know, I can handle traffic stuff, but it's like, there's so many ordinances, and, you know, we got 8 things here, got 9 things there, you got this there. If we could regroup or something that might be there, we could regroup and maybe take 5 minutes to get our thoughts together, instead of looking up here and everybody looking at each other, because I don't have the knowledge right now to make a motion or something. So I'm looking if we can get something that, if we get a case like this, that we could take 5 minutes back and then talk to ourselves amongst ourselves and review. Is that possible?
Well, you know, I'm glad I stayed.
I was gonna say, we wouldn't.
Because the danger in that is, if you break and you all go in separate directions and you just meditate by yourself, that's fine. But there's going to be a tendency when you leave here to go out into the hallway, people in the audience are the perception that you're meeting amongst one another and you're talking about it, which is a blatant violation of the Open Meetings Act. I think that's a bad idea. My suggestion would be, and Bob, you're new, so this isn't fair to you, but you know, when you've been given a book of materials, the key is, you know, you got 3 weeks to review it. And so be on your game when you get here. And if you have questions, ask them of the planner, or, you know, I know we're not typically here, but when we did that workshop last year, you know, most of the issues you bang into are variances, are dimensional variances, or sign variances. It's very rare. The last one you had of this, I think, was PI Tower 5 years ago or 6 years ago on the cell tower. So it's very rare do you get an appeal. And if you're going to get an appeal, Chris or I will be here. So you've got you've got Jonathan, and you've got Stephanie and her staff, and I'll be here, so you can ask whatever questions you want to. But I think taking a break is a bad idea, because it gives a perception that you're meeting.
Completely honest with you, Bob, this is probably two of the most complex issues we have had in a long time. So this is not the norm, okay?
Right on top of each other.
Yes.
And with 2 new members.
Yes, with 2, yes, more, yes. So anyway, the reason I brought up the other point is, if we wish to alter our path of the way doing it, if that's an idea, because generally what I'll do is I'll, you know, have everyone ask a question and come back, and then, you know, while we're trying to make a decision, I'll go, any questions here, any questions here, just to keep the meeting moving and the ideas flowing, so we are in a decision-making process. Because if we all sit here, we're not gonna get any place.
Well, I think the unawkward silence is more troublesome than
Yeah.
asking the question.
Yeah.
Either way, in my opinion, if I have something to say, I'm gonna say it.
Right, yeah.
Not that you have to ask me, do I have something to say, I guess is the way I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, you are welcome to say
I'm
anything.
saying, and you're
Yeah.
on the board, where
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
a new member, not sure where to, you know.
We do try to be, you know, a little bit conscious on protocol, but I don't think there's any time that, you know, as chair, I haven't allowed anyone to speak.
I do have one, I know you're not normally making motions, but
Yeah.
fully capable.
I am.
Yeah, because I know it's been a while since you made a motion,
Yeah.
and I know that it just seems as though we're pushing it on to the same people week after week, or
Yeah.
item after item.
And I hate for chairing the meeting and doing the motion
Right.
and taking it all on. And, you know, it has been to the point where we're sitting there for a while, and I'll support it, or I'll make a motion instead of sitting on it, but, you know, I think I probably speak too much at times, but you read the minutes and I don't say anything, but that's another story. So, I mean, please do.
Mr. Chair, just in response to your question of how you conduct the business going back and forth, I think it seems to work. Perhaps just the wording of the agenda itself could help us in that process. So if it was just worded, the agenda could help us. The wording of the agenda could help. Thank you.
Mr. Siebert, I do have a question in regards to the minutes. They were lengthy from the last meeting, and there were motions were made by certain individuals, and then the person who seconded it or isn't exactly correct in my knowledge of what was in those minutes. How big of a deal is that being the case?
The most important function of minutes is to get the procedure correct and to get the decision correct. Public comment is certainly important, but to simply say, opened it up for public comment, various residents commented, public comment lasted 22 minutes, is perfect. The purpose of minutes are to tell the reader at some future date what happened and why the decision was made. So I don't want to use the example tonight of this motion, but in a case where, let's say, a zoning board or a planning commission, I have a case right now in an unnamed township in an unnamed county where the planning commission's decision on a special land use is final. It doesn't go to the ZBA, it is final. And we had 600 people literally 600 people show up in an auditorium, and the planning commission voted unanimously to turn down the special land use. It goes then to circuit court, and the circuit court there on that appeal will review the record. And the record is at best garbled. I got the case after the decision had been made, and I went back and I looked at the minutes, and I couldn't quite figure out what the commission did. A motion was made, it was seconded, but it wasn't very clear exactly what the motion was all about. And so the vote was clear, motion to do this, second, all in favor, aye, but you couldn't tell the reasons why they denied it. They had the same, not the exact same, but they had 8 standards, much like you do, and they didn't address any of them specifically. So when you go before a judge and the judge says to the township attorney, Bob, why did they do what they did? I'm looking at the minutes, I can't figure it out. The judge sent it back, entered an order sending it back to the planning commission, not to redo a redo, but to clarify the motion that was made. That was unnecessary. That should have been done at the time. So it's important that those minutes accurately reflect what was done, and it's also incumbent on the members to make certain that when you're making a motion, you have standards before you. Most everything you do are dimensional variances. You know what those standards are. You got them by heart. You should, unnecessary hardship or whatever the undue influence, not undue influence, undue hardship. You look at those standards and you know what the criteria are, and you should reference them in every one of your decisions. And those minutes ought to reflect that. So when somebody reads it 6 months or 60 days from now, they can tell exactly why you did it. So that's the importance of the minutes. All the stuff that goes on here, while important, that's not, you listen to that and it's input that you may take into account. But what's important is that motion and that second and why you did what you did.
Well, that kind of was my point, is the motion was made and the person who seconded the motion is incorrect on the minutes.
Well, then that's got to be fixed.
Okay.
Yeah, you can correct that when you're approving the minutes.
I don't
as
know
part-
who, I just know that, for instance, that those minutes say that I seconded every motion that was made, which I don't remember doing that. My memory could be wrong, but.
Well, if it is wrong, then they ought to be corrected at one of your subsequent meetings.
And I would have to watch the video to know.
Yeah, that needs to be fixed. Those minutes need to be accurate. Well, unless you know that they're wrong. I mean, if you have an independent recollection that they're wrong.
Yeah, if we want to verify them, you could just postpone the approval and we can verify, and then at the next meeting, we can put them back on. If you're unsure on it, and we can go back and look at the video, if you want to postpone the approval of the minutes, we can go back and make any corrections that are necessary and bring it back at the next meeting.
Hang on a second. Is this the one from the last meeting where your decision on that gentleman's vote was final? Yeah, see, the clock starts to tick on his ability to appeal your decision when the minutes are certified, which means when they're approved. If the motion was correct, was the vote correct, except for the second?
I believe, like I said, I believe so. I just don't remember myself being this person who seconded that.
Let me ask you this, was the vote unanimous?
Yes.
All right, then it's a moot. While they may be, and I'm not minimizing the fact that you don't want to attribute to the fact, but you still voted in favor of the majority maker. Yeah, because this individual may pursue it judicially, I wouldn't hold him up because of that, particularly since it was unanimous. Yeah, no, if Bill's notes show you seconded it, and the minutes say you seconded it, you seconded it.
You know, Samantha made a comment, and, you know, and you're, no, don't feel like you can't comment or ask a question, because we get stuff wrong, you know? And for them to bash us on that, I thought that was unfair. That's the reason I jumped in on that one. You know, we are volunteers, we don't remember everything, and for heaven's sakes, I don't want you guys to sit here and be quiet, and poor Sam's gotta do all the motions, you know? So the poor guy comes home and he's exhausted. Yeah, I know, he's just exhausted, he's probably downing gallons of water, go, I can't get over this. But anyway, so don't feel bad on saying anything, even when you're here with us. Say what you can, and, you know, we'll get through it, and that's the whole purpose of it. Unless I'm wrong, Mr. Siebert. Unless I'm wrong? Good, good.
Mr. Chair,
Please, yes.
in my opinion, there are no bad questions asked of this board, because a lot of times, there are times I will ask a question, I know the answer, but I know there's people in the audience who don't know.
I do
And
the
I think that
same.
was a very educational question that was asked, and I think a lot of people learned something from that, so thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, back to the minutes. Are we okay to approve
I
them?
will make a motion to approve the minutes from May the 8th.
I'm looking for support. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. We show the minutes. You sign off on that? Jonathan, anything you want to bring to our attention? Good to see you come out and join us. Poor Gary got a day off for a change. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for coming out and visiting us too. We very rarely see us on this level, but appreciate all the work that Giver Webster's doing for the township, and it's great. Mr. Sievert, need to add anything, sir? What's that?
Motion to adjourn?
Okay, do I have support?